Kingstown School Building Committee meeting. Today, December 4th. First order of business, roll call. We have Liam Lynch.
I am here.
We have Brian Sylvia.
Here.
Mike Pedraza.
Here.
Kate Massandy, I'm here. Chip McGarr.
Here.
Bob Littlefield.
Here. And
Jim Manning.
Here.
I need an agenda. Thank you. That's what happens when you run in. As far as, oh, perfect, thank you. As far as public correspondence, I don't recall receiving any from the general public. I didn't see any come in. We do have, that wasn't sent to us, so that was sent to one person, so it wasn't sent to the committee, so. I'm going to move on to agenda item number 3, which is discussion update overall new South Kingstown High School project updates.
Good evening, everyone. All right, so as part of our general project update, we'll go through schedule update, we'll go through where we are with construction. Later on in the agenda tonight, we are going to look at some change order authorizations. We went through a great process with the task force that was previously established, so this is that process in action, and then give an update as to where we stand with Curtis Corner. So looking at our overall project schedule, we are still within our construction timeline, giving a visual as to where we are along the path. We're still early on. We still got a little bit of a ways to go, but we're still on track for our 2027 opening date. Some of our key milestones that we have coming up, final bids are due for the remaining construction packages December 15th. We are going to be coming back in front of this building committee in January for a recommendation of the final guaranteed maximum price construction contract for the remainder of everything that's open for the high school, and the 12th for town council. One recent update, we did receive approval for the Curtis Corner demolition site stabilization package through the RIDE School Building Authority. We are still pending approval for the 60% CDs. Again, as I mentioned last time, we're still pretty far out from the scopes of that approval, so we're still in good shape with RIDE on that one. Mark, do you want to talk about the 4-week look ahead construction-wise?
Sure. My glasses.
You want me to zoom in?
Yeah, could you actually?
Sure.
That'd be good. Perfect. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Similar to what we've looked at before, it probably looks pretty familiar to what you've seen before. We're continuing on with site utilities. The 2 underground storm retention systems are installed and completed and backfilled. They're just waiting for a couple of structures that tie into them, but those are complete, and Garofalo has come out and was inspecting them and has approved them throughout the construction. And then we're going to continue on with catch basins and manholes and whatnot through the course of the next 4 weeks. The next line item is just, again, it's a continuing line item. It's work that goes on as we progress with the foundations, just installing the various mechanical, electrical, and plumbing sleeves that need to come through the foundation walls before they pour them so that the piping can come through the building. So that's just an ongoing activity that happens as needed. We've completed area D and E, which is the southern half of the building with the foundations. So those are finished poured, and now we're backfilling those and working our way around the northeast side of the building. So we're pretty much down to a couple of weeks worth of work, I think, and the foundations should be complete just as this weather is coming in. So it's good timing, and we'll continue to put in underground utilities on the inside of the building. We started putting some underground electrical trenching in to run some underground electrical through the building, as well as telecommunication lines as well. Steel is in fabrication in North Kingstown. We're going to go visit there in a couple of weeks just to check on it and put our eyes to it to make sure everything is, in fact, going smoothly. And then steel is still on track for a mid-January to late January start at the moment, which is part of our schedule. That is about it. So this is kind of a visual on what I was just mentioning, where we are with foundations. So the green is everything that's in place, completed, poured. The yellow, that northeast side, is what I was just mentioning now. That actually got poured today as well. So the only pieces that are left are just that the uncolored portion that you see on the northern side, and a few of the interior footings that need to go on. So moving right along. And this is the 2 underground storm retention systems that I was mentioning. The top right one is in the teachers' parking area, and then the much larger one is in the southern side of it. That picks up all of the roof drains and a lot of the site drainage coming from the parking lot and the bus loop, et cetera. And then the 3 dots are existing catch basins, are new catch basins and manholes and stuff that are starting to go in. The top 2 are in, and the bottom ones are going to go in on Monday. And then we'll work our way around the building, putting those in throughout the next couple months. Any questions on that? All right. A couple of pictures. Middle one is that storm detention systems I was talking about. These pictures are a little bit outdated. That's completely backfilled now and it's got dirt over it, and you can't see those anymore, so those are complete. The picture on the right is the auditorium slab. So that's the main structural slab that's going on underneath the stage. It acts as a structural component of the building as well, and then we'll build another stage floor on top of that eventually. Picture on the left is just excavating and getting ready for the footings on the northeast corner of the building. Same here, just some more pictures of pouring the walls in the middle, the concrete truck in action. Picture on the left, that's the loading dock area, so that's the piece that got poured today. And same thing on the right, just some more pictures of us digging dirt. Not overly exciting, but
The pictures will get more.
it's got to get done. Yeah. Yeah. You can't pour the concrete if you don't dig the dirt.
There's a whole community of like 3 old boys who would disagree with you.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah,
exciting.
that is true. That is true. Any questions on where we are, kind of what we're doing?
I don't have any questions. I do want to make sure the public's aware that we have kind of altered a little bit how we display the schedule, look ahead on the website, and we have pictures up and kind of like areas that are highlighted week to week in the area that you all will be working on, and I think that's a great thing to have, and it's also there for purposes of if people are asking us what the progress looks like, where are they working, where are they going to be about on the site, we should be pointing them to the website because they're doing a really good job of keeping it updated week to week to make sure that kind of everybody knows roughly what's happening. Plans do change day to day.
Yep.
Promises can't be made to anybody, but it shows a really good visualization of what's going on.
Absolutely. All right, turn it back over to Kate.
All right, so the next item on our agenda is the authorization of ATP number 4. So this is that process that we went through a few times with the change order task force as far as makeup of the task force, limits, process for who gets to approve what, and then at what levels the approval escalates and elevates. So this change order we have in front of us is related to bulletin number 1. Jeff Bento from SLAM is here to talk in more technical detail, but overall, the change to the contract is based on some additional provisions for frost walls at the exterior openings, which is just a protection from freeze thaw and some concrete heaving that can happen. It's really a best practices move that SLAM's team felt was really in the best interest of the project. Jeff, do you want to add any more color to it?
So I will not try to get too technical, but so the building code requires that frost protection is implemented at all exterior doors on the building. So we know that we need frost protection. However, the building code doesn't dictate how that detailing method is applied. So the typical condition on most projects is to take the sidewalk concrete and pin it to the building foundation, and then the pin with the rebar connection is what prevents frost heave from happening. So when we submitted the first building package, first bid package back in June, that was our approach to tackle that frost protection per the building code. However, as we further developed the drawings from June until September, when we reached 100% CDs, we felt through internal QA/QC meetings that an even better approach would be to provide a structural frost slab with a turn-down foundation, which basically means you're pouring a concrete slab on grade, and then you would turn down the concrete so that it acts as a footing that gets below the frost depth of the earth, basically. The frost depth here is 3'4", so we'd bring that down to 3'4". That way, if frost occurs during the winter conditions, then that slab is extra protected at that location. So in terms of how this project was structured, it was our intent at first, when the first building package was sent out, that it would be carried by the site concrete contractor. However, that wasn't bought out as part of the first bid package. So when we provided the frost slab detailing, as we reached 100% CDs, what that did was that kicked it out of the site concrete trade contractor's work, and then it was added to the structural concrete work, which is why you see the added cost for that. Any questions?
Just to come full circle on that, because it's a change to the documents, it is a draw from the owner's contingency. So change orders of this type are taken from that contingency bucket. It is outside of Gilbane's contract. So the contingency funds are then transferred from outside of the contract into the contract. So this will be an amendment to the construction contract of an additional $62,986. This will ultimately get wrapped up into a contractual document that will have a few of these ATPs and be presented in front of town council. Because this change order is over $50,000, it goes to both the task force as well as the building committee for authorization.
Does it go to the council for authorization or just
Not
here?
below
Okay.
50, so 50,000 to, I think it's 150,000 goes to town council. It's either 100 or 150, it goes to town council. Below that, it's within the purview of the building committee. But everything ultimately does go in front of council for ratification.
So just for people watching and clarification purposes, it's not 62,986 above budget, it's moving from one line item, the contingency bucket, into the other bucket.
That's correct. Yeah, we have a 5% contingency. These changes, as Jeff explained, there are evolutions of design sometimes. There are things that maybe got missed and didn't get bought out yet. There are sometimes additional requests from whether it be the fire marshal walking through and saying, you need a fire separated wall here, and now we need to make a change there as well. So it's anything that changes the documents. We have a contingency within our budget to be able to transfer into construction.
And I'm just assuming that the purpose of this particular change is better protection down the line. So if we don't, and I see Liam,
Yes.
you're nodding your head, which I like, because I know you have experience with projects like this. So knowing that it's more a matter of, it will save us money going forward because we don't have to worry about frost heaves. And most folks in the area should be familiar with what a frost heave is, I hope. It's when you go up and down the street, right? But so long term, this, even though it's a little bit of an adjustment, it wasn't thought of at the beginning, and now as you progressed through, you're like, what would be even better is this level of protection. So I appreciate that. If anybody else has any questions or comments, want to chime in.
I would just say in terms of levels are ensuring building accessibility, and so making sure that all in the community and making sure that in terms of equitable access to the entire community makes this important investment.
With that said, this item is action, so I will entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So that passes, and we can move forward with that. And then I believe that brings us to item number 5, which is discussion update, Curtis Corner project and athletic fields schedule and planning.
Thank you. Yeah, so this schedule is hot off the presses. Phil has been working hard on his design schedule and understanding with his consultants, what are those design milestones that they can really commit to, and then ultimately what are the construction durations that we should plan for. We've been giving pretty general updates, more specifically about the demolition and site restoration. That project is going to be going out to bid next week. Everything is all set. We're just waiting for the postings, so that project can go out to bid. We are looking to award it from the building committee on January 22nd and town council on the 26th. So that work is looking to be complete in May of 2026. At our last meeting, questions were asked about fall sports for 2026. And we kind of went back and forth and said, we're not sure when we're going to start construction. We still need to finalize our design schedule. So with the design schedule that Phil's team is working on right now, the anticipation for design completion is in April. So we would likely start construction May-June timeframe, and then completion in winter towards the end of the year of 2026. We don't yet want to commit to a month in which we're going to, because we don't unnecessarily want to commit to something that's more aggressive than necessary. But I think it is fair at this point to say we should plan for fall of 26 sports to be elsewhere, as well as fall of 27 we'll be able to reopen sports, but fall of 26 we should plan to relocate.
And Terry and I have had a lot of discussions about that since the last meeting, and so he's already started working on contingencies for next school year. So that this is what we were looking for, was making sure that we were on track for both facilities to open at the same time, and that's going to happen here, which is good. New high school, new athletic facilities. I think that's going to make everyone a lot happier, and it's going to make us look very good, like we know what we're doing here, which I think we do.
Yeah,
but it comes down to, I think this is good, and Terry already has some ideas of how we'll be able to work that out for the following school year.
Yeah, if we can get in earlier, then that would be great. We just don't want to commit to that. We want to make sure that those plans are set as far in advance as possible. And if for whatever reason we're able to open it in time for fall sports, that would be beautiful. But we also don't want to make that commitment at this point, because I don't think that would be a responsible choice. The way that we've also structured this is now in kind of a 3-part design and bidding process. We've talked a lot about cost certainty. We've talked a lot about the original Curtis Corner design being more than the $11 million budget that was allocated. So right now, the second phase is going to be track and field, bleachers, lights, the main purpose of this program, right? And then the third piece is going to be, after we get bids back on the actual field itself, then we'll know how much we have left for remaining site work. There was a lot of work around parking lots, driveways. Are we making a new pass-through? So there was a lot of work, and there was a lot of money that was tied up in how we're designing site access, parking, and all of those things. So we want to be able to target value design that portion of it, because while parking is important, a playable sports field we felt was the most important element of that program. We want to make sure that that element is at the forefront of the priority, and then they can target value design the parking lots. There's still areas to park. There's still access to and from the fields while that's being constructed.
So when we're referring to the athletic field, we're referring to, I just want to make sure I'm understanding what exactly that, so that's the actual field, right?
Mm-hmm.
That includes the track.
Yes.
That includes what we're going to have for bleachers, bathrooms, press box, and concessions, right?
Correct.
And not
Yep.
the roadway and parking. I understand that that's going to be a little later, but everything that would be like that complex.
Everything you need to operate a sports
Okay.
program will be there,
will
including
that
the,
should be done by winter 2026.
yes, including the Curtis Corner portion of the building that, can be used for storage or whatever it is that you
Yep.
need to. But, bathrooms will still remain in the concession stand, press box area. That'll still remain operational. Those are being refed, making sure that, power and water remains accessible to the field. That's actually part of this first process, making sure that we keep that power, water available to that area.
And one of the things we've also been talking about too is for the concession stand, press box, and bathrooms, how we're what are some creative ways for us to improve the way that they look. Too, I'm sure those will be conversations that we'll be having too.
Yeah, Phil's going to be reaching out to you and to Terry to start scheduling some of those design programming sessions. I know you guys have already had a lot of those sessions earlier on, but revisiting those meetings, and that can absolutely be part of the conversation. That may end up being an alternate to the project, or if estimates are coming in good, we can incorporate it as a base scope of work, but...
Yeah, I saw it similar to how we've had discussions about tile on the wall versus the it's almost like a wallpaper, right? That's really tough, so that you won't see scuff marks and things of that nature. So I see some of those things as in the same kind of way.
Yes.
Yeah.
So unlike Chip, this wasn't what I was looking for. I know we quickly texted ahead of this meeting. I would have preferred to see kind of it mapped out as to the process behind what these dates mean, and to get a better idea, because we have to go through the design process, we have to go through bidding processes. And I know that there were dates on the original slide that we didn't want to commit to, but we're not committing to anything tonight. This is merely an update. So I'm not happy with this. In particular, I would like to see what our process is. Because if we get to athletic, if we go from CCMS demolition complete May 2026, and then we're at athletic field design complete April 2026. So April comes before May, first of all, and March, April, May. So I just would like to see the process mapped out with, yes, we don't want to commit to dates yet because we haven't even had the conversation. And I think that's where I'm getting a little frustrated with that piece. I want to start having the conversation about what this process looks like. Thank you.
Yes.
And so if we can zoom in at least to this left-hand side here, again, those dates have been put in there, placeholders. We aren't committing to anything at all right now. But what I liked about this is we see what it's going to take for demolition and site stabilization and the design piece, what it's going to take for field design piece, and then what it's going to take for the roadways, entrances, and parking design piece. So this just gives us an idea, we're working on this, we're moving towards it, and at what point are we going out to bid, and when can we actually start the discussion around the field design, the roadway design, entrance design, and parking design. Those dates, I understand, are, again, placeholders, but it's December 4th. I don't know where the past 5 weeks went, completely and I judge it by my hair appointments. I had a hair appointment today, and I was like, how is my hair appointment today? Because I swear to God, I was just sitting in this seat 2 weeks ago, and it wasn't. It was 5 weeks earlier. So I just want to make sure we're not actually, time is going by so fast. I don't want to lose any opportunity to talk about this next part of our project, if that makes sense.
Yes, and I agree completely. And the reason why, in full transparency, the reason I skipped over this, and I'll be totally honest, we were tracking an mid-October date for field construction, and it honestly, I truly feel it's too aggressive. And so we didn't want to commit to an October date and commit to, Terry, you can do your fall sports in 2026, because I think it's too aggressive to be in full transparency, and I wasn't comfortable. And, speaking with Luke, and he agreed and felt the same way, that targeting maybe more of a winter timeframe is more realistic. It gives time for weather delays. It gives time for any other bumps in the road. This is an aggressive schedule if everything goes perfectly. And to be quite honest, if we don't need to hit a schedule that's that aggressive, we shouldn't plan for one. We should plan for a realistic schedule, because our key deliverable is to open this field with the high school, which is in the fall of 2027. This is a year before then. So we just want to be realistic in what we're presenting to this group and setting expectations that are clear. So while we are working through in this level of detail, I just want to be careful about the promises that we make to you, because we want to be able to hold up our end of the bargain.
Totally agree. What I would like to have a good grasp on, whether or not those dates are reflecting the answer to my question or not, when will we as a group be able to, and I know you all will be working with Chip and Liam and Terry and sorting out the details that won't necessarily be happening at this table, but what I'd love to understand is when will we be able to discuss and see what the design looks like? When will we know that it's going out to bid? Because that's another piece.
Yes.
Gilbane isn't doing this part of the project. So we're going out to bid for demo and site stabilization, but we also have to go out to bid for the actual build of the field itself,
yeah.
too, and the parking lot and the roadways. So do we have an idea of a realistic time frame? And I don't need an exact date, but like an idea, are the discussions gonna start in January? Are they gonna start in February? So what does that look like?
So the design effort is starting in January. So those programming sessions between Chip and Terry and any other member of the athletics team, as well as, the Parks and Rec department as well, those conversations start in January, which means towards the end of January, we'll be able to give you a design update as to where we stand with it. And regular design updates, as we did with the high school, will be through our biweekly meetings, and we'll be able to give you an idea of what does the layout look like, where are the numbers starting to come in. So as we've done before, those updates will still come to you guys. We meet every 2 weeks, and we'll be able to let you know what's going on every 2 weeks. From that point, we're looking to go out to bid in probably late spring of 2026. So, it's a lot of work between here and there, but we've already got a really strong start with the program that was established previously. So right now, that's in the next 4 months, we'll be seeing design updates, estimate updates on a regular basis.
One of the things that wasn't as relevant to these design for the building that we had are some for an artificial turf field there are different fillers, and I would imagine that budgeting plays a role in terms of what you choose for that filler. So I think we're going to need to start to understand more about what exactly the cost differential is with the different types of fills for that. And then in addition, there are different surfaces of tracks. Mm-hmm. So I think understanding that as well, balancing the long-term, how often does this type of track need to be renovated versus another type. So I think those are going to play a big role in decisions that we wind up making.
For sure.
Oh, yeah, and I'm not going to pretend to be able to have any of those answers, but I know that Phil does have a field consultant specializing in exactly that can give you all of that information and will be part of the design process with you guys to
Is
have
it
those
possible
conversations.
sooner rather than later for even just Terry and I to start having conversations with that field specialist?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I think us starting to really think about that, I know that it's similar to the conversation we just had about the item that we approved, right? Is like, okay, we're going to reduce the risk that we're going to wind up having frost heaves here. I think we really do need to think carefully about what exactly the fill is and what exactly the track surface is, because probably better to pay a little bit more up front now than having to 5 years from now do significant renovations.
Chip, I got a lot of that info. Went to school to learn how to properly take care of those fields, so we can speak on that. There's an upfront cost for the equipment, but as far as the outlook for longevity and preserving it, we have that information in-house.
I think that also, coming from the experience of putting in a turf field in my former life and how much things have changed in terms of what is used for fill and the debate around fill and athlete safety, both in the immediate term and in the long term, that I anticipate robust community conversations, or the need to make sure that we've heard everybody out, especially when we're talking about where fills are coming from or what they're made of. Are they organic? Are they rubber? Are they rubber imported? That just that we put that into that we might even want to have those conversations ahead of time if we're going to get into that schedule and be able to make a decision even separately, so that we're not that making sure that we don't have those conversations when we need to come to a decision and then we're folks feeling rushed. And then obviously in terms of that is also then the ability to turn over that field or replant that faux grass, if you will. And because again, what are we now, 10-year lifespans? 7 to 10 with the average rebuild. So that's not a...
Yeah, and I know, and I was just talking to a different school about their track, because they just, when they had it installed not that long ago, they just had to redo all of the turns on their track, which again, like is a cost that you're not expecting to have. So that's gonna really, we're gonna have to get both these things right, in my opinion. So I want to start learning more now. I recently learned that there's another surface type that's hybrid. So it's a combination of grass and artificial, which I don't know that much about, but like this is another thing that exists. So there are some normal grass upkeep, but it's supposed to last longer than grass typically. So it's sort of like in the middle. That's another thing to think about. And now they actually have like gel surfaces for tracks now, which go on the top, that are supposed to create like a longer lifespan. They're more expensive, but that's another type. So there's just so much to learn, and I think the sooner we get going on that, and especially if we, and I agree, we need to start getting input, which we've done on a lot of things for this project. We don't want to fall behind on that schedule. So I like the more details. I agree with Kate there, but I just, in terms of, for me, it was like, I want to see what the end is, and I think I'd prefer to not wait till January if we can, to start having some of those conversations.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Phil and have him contact you guys to set up a meeting.
Well, and it goes also, once the conversation starts happening in January, community conversations should happen before April. Because if the design is complete in April, and then all of a sudden folks have an opinion, we want to hear their opinion. We have a lot of people in our community who are experts on certain topics, who might want to bring their voice to the table. So I agree, conversations need to start, and I think that's kind of why there's been pressure being put on. Luke was asking for the schedule for a while, and I'm glad we are seeing that something is being put down, but by January we need to have some clear dates, and then some earmarked dates to having conversations at the school committee level, at the town council level, especially because we also need plans on how to maintain it going forward, because that's not happened in the past, which leads us to where we are right now with a track that's been unusable. So we don't want to see that happen again 15, 20 years down the road. So,
No, because it was, there was a period of time in the early 2000s, seems like forever ago, but the South Kingstown track and field was like one of the best in the state. There were a lot of division championships, class championships for track were intentionally held at South Kingstown because of the facility that they have, and then everyone else just kind of passed us by. And we're going to build a really beautiful facility. We want it to stay one of the best in the state. And I know our plan from the beginning has been an 8-lane track. That also puts us in a spot where not that many people have that as well.
great, thank you. Thank you for pulling that up for me. Does anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns? No? All right, that brings us to a nice short agenda. Item number 6, community comments. I see no community members around us. We have a community member, just not here in that capacity. Bringing us to item number 7, next school building meeting date and time. And that brings us to the 18th, yep. And sticking with the 5:30, I think that it falls right before our budget. The school committee and the town council have a budget meeting on the same date later on. And then after that,
It's the first.
yeah, but we
were going with the 8th.
We were going with the 8th, yep. So the next one will be the first meeting in January because of the holiday. We will be holding it on Thursday, January 8th, 5:30. And if no one else has any other questions, comments, or concerns, I will accept a motion to adjourn. Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
No one's opposed, so we will adjourn at 6:09. Thank you all.